Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with us. Today, we're unpacking a true story from our devotional that seriously reads like an ancient spy thriller, but it carries a message that is incredibly relevant for us right now. We're talking about Daniel and his absolutely unwavering, unbreakable integrity. This isn't just a dusty history lesson, it is a masterclass in how to live. So get ready to lock in, because we're going to see exactly what it takes to be a blameless ambassador of faith.
But before we dive into Daniel's story, I've got to ask you a pretty serious question. Really think about this for a second. Could you survive the ultimate snooping test? Just imagine if your teachers, your parents, your siblings, and maybe even the kids at school who don't really get along with you, your absolute worst enemies, were watching your every single move. Imagine them tracking everything you do, scrutinizing every homework assignment you turn in, listening to every single word you say, just desperately trying to find one tiny mistake. Do you think you could pass that test with a perfect score? Sounds literally impossible, right? Well, that is exactly the test our historical hero faced.
So, let's break this down. To really get how Daniel survived this crazy situation, we first need to figure out what his job actually was.
He wasn't just some regular politician. He was something way more important. He was an ambassador. Now, an ambassador is someone chosen to represent a powerful leader and their kingdom, all while living in a completely foreign place. It's a huge deal. An ambassador has this absolutely massive job of representing their true king, even when they're living hundreds or maybe thousands of miles away from home. And that's exactly what Daniel did. He was living in Babylon, which was a foreign land, with completely different rules and different beliefs. But he never ever forgot that he was actually representing his true king in heaven.
Because he knew exactly who he was really working for, Daniel ended up living this massive double life, but in the absolute best way possible.
Let's look at how he pulled this off. On one hand, he had his day job. He rose super fast to become the prime minister of Babylon. And Babylon wasn't just any place. It was literally the greatest earthly kingdom of its time. He was practically running the whole government. But then, on the flip side, at the exact same time, he was a prophet of God, receiving heavenly inspiration. He perfectly balanced this monumental earthly job with his heavenly duties. And you know what's so cool? The text tells us he was a man of like passions as ourselves. That means he was a regular human being, just like you and me. But his heart was completely converted and totally consecrated to God.
And this unswerving integrity of his, it wasn't just a one-time lucky choice. It was a rock-solid habit that lasted his entire life. Think about it. In his early years, as a young captive, his noble dignity won over the heathen officers in charge of him. They actually grew to really care for him. Then, over several decades, he just kept serving right through the reign of completely different monarchs. Kings literally came and went, but Daniel stayed right there. Over a lifetime, he kept his perfect tact, his courtesy, and his genuine goodness of heart, even through the total downfall of nations and the rise of brand new world empires. And finally, because of this lifelong faithfulness, he was given this beautiful promise that, at the end of days, he would stand in his lot and place in the closing period of history.
But of course, being that successful and being that good for that long, that puts a massive target on your back.
Daniel's speedy rise to power and his incredible wisdom made the other presidents and princes extremely jealous. So these enemies decided to pull off that ultimate snooping test we talked about earlier. They put Daniel's entire life under a microscope. The text tells us they subjected his business transactions to the closest scrutiny. They were digging through his files, double-checking all his math, watching his every political move like hawks, just desperately seeking an occasion against him. They just wanted to find one little error, one tiny fault, or maybe a selfish motive, just so they could drag him down and ruin his career.
And do you want to know exactly how many flaws they found? After all that desperate searching, all that sneaky snooping around, and the microscopic scrutiny of the prime minister of the greatest empire on earth, zero. Literally zero, not a single one. His business transactions were found to be completely without a flaw. No errors, no faults, just a big fat zero.
I absolutely love this because it brilliantly illustrates the true power of a life lived for God. It's a total mic drop moment from our devotional straight out of Daniel chapter 6, verse 4. Even his absolute worst enemies, the guys actively trying to destroy him, were forced to confess that they could find none occasion nor fault, for as much as he was faithful. His genuine goodness, his unyielding self-mastery, and his total fidelity to principle forced his enemies to admit, out loud, that he was completely perfect at his job.
He is this walking, talking example of what anyone can become when their motives are right in the sight of God.
And because Daniel proved himself to be so incredibly faithful with his everyday earthly duties, something truly amazing happened. God rewarded Daniel for all that amazing loyalty, honesty, and hard work. And the parallels here are just so cool. Because he was so faithful, he was honored by men with massive state responsibilities. Earthly kings trusted him with the most highly classified secrets of kingdoms that ruled the world. But way more importantly, he was honored by God as his ambassador. Because he proved he could be trusted with a king's secrets, God trusted him with heavenly secrets. He was given these wonderful, mind-blowing prophecies of mysteries to come. We're talking about revelations of the ages that you can read about right now in chapters 7 to 12 of the book of Daniel. Even when Daniel didn't fully understand all the prophecies himself, God trusted him to write them down safely for the future.
All right, so we've seen how Daniel operated like a total boss in the grand palaces of Babylon. But what does all of this mean for you today?
Well, right now, I want to challenge you to accept your very own ambassador mission right in your own world. Because here is the crucial takeaway. We can, just like Daniel, live for that which is true and noble and enduring. You don't have to be a prime minister of ancient Babylon to have a consecrated heart. We can take Daniel's awesome example and apply it to our own daily lives, exactly where we are. Whether you're hanging out on the playground, playing sports, sitting in the middle of math class, or just doing your chores at home, you are actively representing a heavenly kingdom.
So, to help us out, let's look at a quick ambassador checklist inspired directly by our devotional. Step 1. Unswerving integrity. That means always telling the truth at home, even when it's super hard or when you know you might get in trouble. Step 2. Genuine goodness. This means being kind to everyone at recess. Yes, even the kids who might act like your enemies. And Step 3. Fidelity to principle. Just like Daniel's flawless work, try your absolute best to do your schoolwork without a single flaw. When you practice these things, you are actually learning the principles of the kingdom of our Lord right now in this life so that you'll be totally prepared to enter with him when he comes.
Daniel proved that with God's help, you can live in a totally foreign land and still be 100% faithful to your true king. So I want to leave you with this one final question to chew on as you go about your day. Where will you be a blameless ambassador for God today? Will it be at the lunch table, on the bus ride home, hanging out with your family? Always remember, the King of Heaven has specifically chosen you to represent him. So get out there and show the world what genuine goodness really looks like. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you guys next time.